Okay, so I'm trying to stabilize my best practice and best practices with these recordings and with the YouTube channel. And so what I've noted is doing these recordings on this directly on this device, and then uploading the recording uh, directly to YouTube. That is a best practice, as opposed to doing the recordings as I walk around and then, having those videos on my phone for long periods of time, especially a phone that's lacking space. So I oftentimes have to delete videos to make other videos, and then, transferring those videos to the computer, and then and then uploading them. And um, that just caused a whole bunch of different. There's a whole bunch of different issues, especially with space issues. Pardon me, especially, sorry for coughing in your face there, especially with space issues on the computer as well. Anyway, so this is a best practice. I'm just looking to veer my practices in this direction, and then stabilize and maintain this direction in this directive. But anyways, I guess I should add what I should have added at the beginning. So today is Saturday, May the 9th, 2026, and so, while I'm doing this best practice, I'm waiting for the video is already uploaded to YouTube, and uh, I'm waiting for it to continue I believe it's checking for original content. So it's doing like the finalization, and that's a check. And so anyway, so I can't publish it publicly as of yet. So I figured, oh, while I'm waiting here, I might as well. Like I had a few thoughts that you could say piggyback, or I think trail would actually be a better descriptor. They trail the last video, and um, these are thoughts that I could really use. So I was thinking, if I could really use them, then perhaps others could really use them as well. And so I'm really appreciative of the last couple of conversations. So the thoughts on the reality of feeling stuck, and then like the elaboration of that, or the follow up, and so like the forward movement up the hill. And then so now I want to do like an elaboration of the forward movement up the hill, or follow up to that as well. And I was just thinking, um, it's in the granular details that either things are lost and then they're misplaced, and then you end up at your location and you don't have enough money or coins in your pocket to pay for the thing that you set out to purchase, or you know things are retained and they're kept safely, and then when you end up at the location to make the purchase of the thing that you set out to purchase, um, you have enough money for that transaction. And but I find that these granular details are not always talked about. Because they're not always talked about, they're not always commonplace. And um, however, when you're around different circles, I find like the more astute and the more I think we've all heard like very wise folks in our society mention that one thing that they've noted that correlates to the success that they've experienced is they started to surround themselves with like-minded people that had the same vision, and also like the same levels of ambition, and the importance of having others to garner ideas off, or to leverage um, ideas from, and or resources from, or help from, assistance from, et cetera, et cetera. And so anyway, um, that being said, I find it's much like if you're, say, if like you're a professional MMA fighter or a professional athlete, I guess just in general, you're gonna find like the difference between those that succeed and complete their goals, or achieve the goals, or reach the visions that they had, um, versus those that do not. It's usually more to do with like the granular details, meaning, and one of the major granular details is consistency. And so they're constantly improving, they're constantly getting better, but they're also constantly prolonging their consistency of that specific skill set. And I find like when I'm in sports, and I'll just take a um, I'll do a brief elaboration on this, and seem to be reusing the word elaborate, and yeah, so even I've noted that too. But anyways, whenever I was playing a sport, I've noted that um, there's like sometimes there's major gaps between the goodness, what would it be? The skill level of certain players on your team. But then there's going to be a few players that are like they're at this optimized level. They're very, very, they're like the elite level players on your team. They're the creme of the creme. And then when you look at them, you're thinking, oh my goodness, like these guys, look at their skill, look at the things that they're able to do. These three guys, we're just use three guys as an arbitrary number, but as an example, um, look at the things that they're able to do. Like they're head above shoulders, or head and shoulders above the others on their team in terms of skill level. But to somebody who's at like the higher level of skill, they're going to be able to see bigger gaps in between those three individuals, and they're gonna see that, yeah, they're all able to do the same things, which take heightened levels of skill, and things that not everyone else can do. However, the granular detail that differentiates those three from each other, and even differentiates the creme of the creme from the creme of the creme in the creme of the creme, is consistency. Um, and the ability to perform these things that take high levels of skill while under extreme levels of pressure. And not everybody's going to be able to see that. And then now we're going to reverse back a little bit, the a few steps, the granular details that would get those individuals to that heightened level would also be consistency. They had a target, they had a goal, they had a vision, and then they acquired the understanding. So after school, they weren't lollygagging. They were on a mission to get home. They're full of ambition, full of excitement, and they're in the gym and they're working on their weaknesses. They're doing strength training, they're doing endurance training. Um, Scholastically, they're they don't lollygag. They get home and say if they want to be, I'm not sure, whatever discipline. We're say computer programmer. They're learning different. What do they call those? Logic. Is it the operators, logical operators, or just computer logic? And they're getting like an experiential understanding. They're practicing these things. They're learning from their mistakes. Say somebody in literature, they're going home and they're writing, and they're forcing themselves like to stay committed to write for like 3 or 4 hours per day. But they're also um, finding other people to talk to, or other resources to read where they can expand their vocabulary. And if they're weak on editing, they're taking editing classes, or they're finding out creative ways to edit their own work. And but they're always moving forward. But it's the granular details. But then also the same thing too in terms of oh, here's my alarm. I was gonna find it, fix it. There we go. Okay. So, and then in terms of I just lost my train of thought. Oh no. Goodness. Oh yes, so in a very like highly applicable way for everyone, this is ubiquitous for every single person who wants to move from adolescence to young adulthood to adulthood, and to do it seamlessly. They're learning the proper life skills. They're learning how they're learning health nutrition. They're learning, like what their body requires to have like that sustainable energy, that energy that's not overly volatile, staying away from refined sugar, for example, and copious amounts of like caffeine, et cetera, et cetera. So these are very health. They're learning healthy ways or ways to improve their health, so they're more present, and they're more accountable for their emotions and their emotional climate and state and this and that. They're also learning like finances. They're learning how to properly save money. They're learning how to like what discretionary income is. They're learning how to budget themselves. They're learning how to look for coupons, look for deals, to save a little money, and then when they save money, they transfer that money into the savings, so it just doesn't become, additional discretionary income that's just, possibly squandered somewhere else. Um, they're learning relationship skills. They're learning how to remain patient when they're talking with somebody. They're learning how to listen and to listen to hear, and then to listen to hear to be able to respond to what the person is saying, as opposed to just listening, or sorry, listening long enough so then they can inject their own thoughts so they can speak. They're learning how to be respectful to different people, um, how to honor and respect other people's boundaries. Um, they're learning how to um, properly care for people, how to not force relationships or force thoughts or this or that. Like they're always learning every situation they're learning, but not just like the overall things, as in, or like the bigger picture things, or um, I don't know if that'd be higher level. I think higher level is the opposite of what I mean for this. But anyways, the bigger picture things, such as yes, I want to be married. Yes, I want the house. Yes, I desire this. Yes, I desire that. But they're actually like learning the granular things that are like the holes in the pocket that need to be patched up to ensure that the coins that you're putting in your pocket are going to remain in your pocket, so by the time you get to the destination and to the place where you desire to make the purchase, you have enough funds, because you set out with enough funds, but you have enough funds on you to complete that transaction. And I think there's nothing more discouraging than somebody who sets out, they have the vision, they have the initial funds in their pocket, so they know that they can afford, the thing of value that they desire when they get to it. But because they didn't take the time to look at the granular things and to adjust, correct, and then strengthen, those the weaker areas, or like the holes that they have, they filled their pockets up with coins. They set out on a journey. They got to that place, and then when it came time for that transaction to finalize, they realized that they'd hemorrhaged so many coins, they didn't actually have enough money to make that transaction come through. And then they're going to feel stuck. They're going to feel like it's all squandered time. They're going to feel like it's been a wasted endeavor, and that can actually cause such a very distinct downward spiral that's going to be very hard for them to rebound from, because the actuality is the knowledge that they forsook, or the knowledge that they overlooked at the beginning, is actually the knowledge that they still need at that, you know, juncture, or junction, pardon me, of their life. And if they didn't have it at the beginning, that means they're not going to have access to it in the end. So they can still acquire it, but they'd have to understand that it was missing from the beginning, and it still needs to be acquired, and they're probably still need to go all the way back and backtrack to where they were, have all those things patched up, and then get the things of value, put them in their pocket, and then move forward. It can be very defeating, because they will start to think, well, I should be this far ahead or that far ahead. Whereas the reality is you're not there yet, but there still is hope, in as much as you're able to correct the lack of understanding that caused you to miss the lesson at the beginning, um, initially. So, at the beginning initially, what's that? There's a word for that. Is it tautology? Is that what that is? There's a word that means um, virtually like saying the same, like repeating the same thing twice, and but oftentimes like you don't realize that you did it. So, anyways, I just realized I did that there. Oh, and my phone's going off. Oh my word, I must be a popular guy today. Oh, the other time was an alarm. I must be I must be a lazy guy today. I don't know. Anyways, yeah, happy to share this. And it looks like my other video is done. I'm going to upload this and then I am going to go do some writing. Okay, God bless you.